Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders Yugioh channel again today, and I am back here with my NEOS Spacian deck. I just wanted to do this video for a while, but it's going to be a hand shuffle and draw video. I did this with my previous Elemental Hero deck, and it went over quite well with a lot of people. So I'd like to do the same thing with this, just going through a couple of test hands and showcasing to you why I think this deck is as powerful as it is and how it's good. As I mentioned, this is a deck that I optimized to run in Master Rule 3, but if you've seen in the deck profile already, you already know that I run a single copy of Isolde Twin Tails of the Noble Knights for those Master Rule 4 shenanigans. Things like NEOS Space Connector actually work better under them. So I will mention this stuff to start off first, guys, pointing out a couple of the cards that I say, and maybe I'll do like a more in-depth video on this, but a lot of the cards is sort of like a race to get things to the graveyard and put them back in your deck. There's not a lot of ways to get your Neoses to the graveyard or some of your other cards to the graveyard. So you'll have things like NEOS Space Connector, NEXT, and your Miracle Contact all sort of vying for the monsters in your graveyard to make plays. So that can be a little bit tough. I'm currently working on trying to figure out ways to get more and more stuff to the graveyard, so a lot of that deck stuff can really get going. And I think once I figure that out, this deck's gonna really, get very good. But let's start this out, guys, and I'll show you a couple of test hands on this right now. So to start out, first 5 cards here. And I should have given myself maybe a little bit more space to do this. So this is already a very good first hand, guys. As you can see, we have Convert, Contact, Neospatian, Glowmoss, Prisma, Hope for Escape, NEOS Fusion. We can immediately do a ton of stuff with this hand, but the first thing that I always recommend is you want to have Convert, Contact to start with. And we have Convert, Contact, and 1 Neospatian. Convert, Contact, I think, is the toughest to activate card in the deck, primarily because you must have at least 1 Neospatian in your hand and then no monsters on your field. It's a very good card to get into first turn. The draw effect is nice, but it is still a troublesome card. So the card that we want to join up with Glowmoss is going to have to be Dark Panther. What I always recommend is getting the Neospatians together that go together. So for instance, Glowmoss, Dark Panther together. Then you want Aqua Neos or Aqua Dolphin and Air Hummingbird together. And then finally you're going to want either Grand Mole with Flare Scarab or with Dark Panther. So now that we've done that, figure your opponent's going to cut your deck like that. Draw 2 cards. So we're already in a really good position. We've drawn 2 of the new cards right here, NEXT and the another copy of NEOS Fusion. And we have our Dark Panther and our Glowmoss chilling in the graveyard with Prisma still in our hands. So one of the interesting plays that we can do with this is either we've got Hope for Escape, we got NEXT, so you want to decide whether or not you want to activate or activate NEXT and then go for a Prisma play to go into one of the NEOS monsters, or alternatively what you could do is you got to normal summon this guy, send the NEOS to the graveyard, and then wait until he goes away with NEOS Fusion to activate NEXT. So I'll show you a couple of different ways that you can take this. You can start out with NEXT, activate this special Glowmoss and Dark Panther to the graveyard since you control no other cards, and then normal summon Elemental Hero Prisma to send a NEOS to the graveyard, shuffle all these guys back to go into Chaos NEOS. Now, for probably a more competitive deck, you're not going to want to run Chaos NEOS in this. Chaos NEOS is a coin flip card that does have the option of hurting you if you only get 1 heads, so that's something to consider. And then you'll control Prisma, you'll control just Chaos NEOS, and then have 1 copy of Elemental Hero NEOS in your graveyard, and still have the ability to activate NEOS Fusion. On the other hand of things, even if you do activate NEOS Fusion and you have your NEOS in the graveyard, this is probably the play that I would want to do, at least on the very first turn. If I was in this situation, I'd want to have Elemental Hero Prisma sending Elemental Hero NEOS to the graveyard. And then you can activate a copy of NEOS Fusion. And this time, instead of just the Elemental Hero NEOS, you'll be sending, let's see if I can find it in here, Elemental Hero NEOS and Rainbow Dragon to your graveyard. And that, of course, guys, is going to allow you to special summon Rainbow NEOS. And Rainbow NEOS is probably the best card in the entire deck. But as I mentioned to you guys, a lot of people build decks around turboing out Rainbow NEOS. You don't really use Rainbow Dragon for anything else besides that. And he's kind of useless, unfortunately, once he gets to your graveyard. But having the ability to go into Rainbow NEOS, I think, is a very, very powerful play. And the reason why I recommend this play, because it not only leaves you with a full graveyard that has 2 Elemental Hero NEOS, Rainbow NEOS on the field, and then NEOS Fusion to protect you. But the key thing that it does is it leaves a good monster on your board and allows you to have considerable follow-up. So first and foremost, guys, we have this play here. We have, I'm gonna go grab my hand. You know, this is your hand right now. You have all of this for next turn. NEOS Fusion, and 1 NEOS left in your deck, NEXT, and Hope for Escape. So we're going to put that off to the side for now, but I think the important thing is, so right now your field would be Rainbow NEOS and an Elemental Hero Prisma. You can activate Prisma's effect to send it to the graveyard to activate Rainbow NEOS's effect to get rid of your opponent's monsters. But even more importantly is the idea that this is how I build all my hero decks, is I always want to have or be thinking about that follow-up play. So we have all of this stuff in my graveyard, which means even though we have Rainbow NEOS, and if and when it inevitably gets removed from the field, either being destroyed, banished, sent away somehow, you know, we'll put it off to the side to signify that. We have a whole bunch of plays left. We have that Hope for Escape, we have NEXT, and we have NEOS Fusion. So it's totally up to you guys if you want to, you know, for instance, set Hope for Escape and NEXT, hoping to get your opponent, or leave your field entirely open, allowing NEXT to be dropped at any point on your opponent, even during their end phase. So, you know, that's a cool play like that that allows you to defend your life points without your opponent being able to have the ability to destroy one of your spells and traps. So let's say I draw for my next turn. And here we have a third NEOS Fusion. Sometimes these guys stick together in the deck, but that is good for you. So NEOS Fusion is always the last thing that you want to activate in the deck because it's it's sort of like a power play. And, you know, you do the one push with Rainbow NEOS, but he's by far, you know, not the be-all, end-all of your deck. And you have a lot more plays that you can make. So if you activate just NEXT on the board right now, you can special summon any one copy of NEOS, and that's very important. But you can also special summon Dark Panther and Glow Moss. You can only special summon fusion monsters from your extra deck while you have these guys out, but luckily, you know, that's all it really takes. So, you know, now you have 2 copies of NEOS Fusion to be used however you would like them to be. And you can either go into Chaos NEOS or into Glow NEOS or Dark NEOS. And Glow NEOS and Dark NEOS, I want to talk a little bit about because I feel like these 2 monsters don't get nearly the amount of love I think they deserve. They're 2 of my favorites, absolute favorites in this extra deck thanks to this new support, and I'll tell you why. So starting off, Glow NEOS, starting off I guess with Dark NEOS allows you to negate anything on the board, as you're well aware from my deck profiles. Allows you to negate anything on the board, and it also can just target itself, just target and negate any effect monster on the board. So that's really good for locking down things that your opponent has, especially like battle effects or destruction or different things like that, or monster effects that might be very, very tough to deal with And, you know, I use it, of course, most often to lock down himself to prevent him from going back in the extra deck. So it's really under, you know, NEOS Fusion or your NEOS cards, it's just literally like a one card negation. And its effect is not good, you know, in the old style of Neo-Spacian decks because it was not worth the cost spent to get it. But now it's, with all of the plussing that Neo-Spacians do and all of the ability to get them out on the board, thanks to NEXT, NEOS Fusion, Neospace Connector, all those main deck cards in here, you can do them. Glow Neos, I want to point out as a floodgate popper. Can pop monster, spell, or traps and gets different effects based on them. My favorite thing to pop is face-up spells with Glow Neos, because then Glow Neos will get a direct attack, and if you've got Honesty Neos in your hand, that's 5k. So they're both very, very good in their own ways, and, you know, as I said, I wouldn't want to take out any of them, either of these guys from the extra deck, because they're so incredible and they've come such in handy. So you can either get one of those guys, and then NEOS Fusion can allow you to get any of the other ones that you're missing. So even though you're not allowed to special summon after that, let's say we want to go for Flare Neos. So we send this guy and Elemental Hero Neos, and we can instantly at this point special summon Flare Neos from our extra deck. That's the wrong pile, guys. Right here, Flare Neos. And yeah, maybe thinking the field is pretty busy right now, but these guys are in the graveyard. This is in the grave. Hope for Escape is set. And after you summon one of your other guys, this is on the field. Flare Neos gains attack power for the boost, so you can set these guys. They'll instantly go up by 800. Very good for finishing off like OTKs and stuff. Or one of the brand new cards, which you want is instead of sending that, you could send Flare, or what a lot of players have built their deck and optimized it to do is instead of sending Flare, you can send any Neo-Spacian, or you can send Shadow Mist to the graveyard. Shadow Mist will allow you to search a hero such as Honesty Neos from your deck to your hand. And then after you send Shadow to the graveyard, you're going to special summon a monster of your own. And that monster is none other than the almighty brand new card, Brave Neos. Now, Brave Neos is, you know, in my opinion, one of the best NEOS cards. He's kind of like the spiritual successor to NEOS Knight. You know, he's not like elemental in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, you know, combining him together with a warrior to make this guy is just like even better. You know, you get your Shadow Mist to the graveyard, you get that nice search off. But not only that, but you also can destroy and add anything that has Elemental Hero Neos in its card text from your deck to your hand. So that can be really good. And then being able to search Honesty out, combined together with Glow Neos, is like pretty much an instant OTK at that point. And so that's another very, very useful play. So guys, that's pretty much like all of the stuff that you can do with that hand. Now we're going to move on, and we're going to draw a couple of different hands. So now that I showed you a little bit how the deck works, I'll just shuffle it up now, and we'll discuss a couple of other hands that you might draw. So, let's see, we shuffle that up. Opponent cuts the deck. And now we're going to draw 5 again. Sometimes you'll get like brick hands, which is fine. You know, you are running a lot of spacians. One of the notable absence in this deck is Space Gift. And I don't like Space Gift because it's a card that requires you to have a specific type of board filled with Neo-Spacians. And when it comes to these decks that are made out of really, really old cards, you can't afford to run the super, super situational stuff like Space Gift that doesn't rely too much on that. So we instantly have a couple of options here. We have Rhoda, we have Shadow Mist. This is kind of a hand where either you can normal summon Glow Moss and hope for the best that your opponent only can attack it and may draw a monster to end the battle phase. you have reinforcements of the army, but you already drew both of your Aqua Dolphins. The best play you might find in this instant would be to use Rhoda to search out like NEOS Space Connector, go for a NEOS into Isolde, make another search of Connector, and then continue your plays on from there. There's not too much you can do with a hand like this, which is why sometimes you want to go second to prevent this stuff from happening. A lot of people do like Connector. I think it's a good card, but it's not great because I think it focuses too much on the shuffle back, as I was mentioning before. Here's another great hand, NEOS Fusion. You know how good that is. You're able to draw that pretty easily. So we're going to keep drawing test hands, guys. And so we'll cut again. Sorry, guys, I didn't cut the last game, so that hand was mostly the same. Start out with 5 and then a possible 6th if we had it. Nebula, or this is a good card, NEOS Space Connector, but we're gonna leave it off from there for now and focus on this. So already right away we have NEOS Space in our hand. Still need to pick up an ulti first ed copy, guys. So if you know someone who's got one, just let me know. I am on the market for it, but with this one, you can do a couple of different things. So Neospatian Aqua Dolphin allows you to have Miracle Contact around. So you can definitely activate Miracle Contact to get sort of like a free ditch or a free look at your opponent's hand. Because if you're going to shuffle stuff back in the extra deck first turn anyway, that would be a good play. So in this hand, I would try and go for sort of a hand destruction strategy. So start things off with Neospace. And then normal summon Dolphin, since he's sort of the best one to normal summon at this point. Then you're going to want to ditch Elemental Hero NEOS in particular to the graveyard. Dolphin's effect activates, take a look at your opponent's hand, and you'll be lucky if they have like a hand trap or something like that in there to get that effect off. Then you can activate Miracle Contact, shuffle NEOS and Dolphin back into the extra deck. Either summon Brave NEOS if you want, summon NEOS Knight, or you could even summon Aqua NEOS, who will not go back to the extra deck now that he has his NEOS Space out in the field, and send that Dark Panther from your hand to the graveyard to rip another card out. And if you're lucky, you'll grab 2 important cards out of your opponent's hand and sort of try and stall them for a turn while they deal with your 3k attack beater. I'm going to mention, guys, you know, it is not as good at breaking. This deck is not as good at breaking boards or making boards as some of your other decks. Your main focus in here is always going to be those fusion monsters. So getting advantage or plays off on effects like that can be very, very beneficial to you. We're going to draw another hand again and explain a couple more options that we have. So do that. So sometimes, inevitably, guys, you'll have to draw Rainbow Dragon. Doesn't happen often because of how it's only one card in the entire deck. But when it does happen, you know, it's best to be prepared for it. This hand has NEOS Fusion in it, but, you know, what if the hand did not? So that's the sort of the question that I want to focus on right now is, you know, you take NEOS Fusion and, you know, that will solve most of your problems, but really, you're going to want to activate next to get out your Neospatian guys. And so, guys, tell me whether or not you think I should run Space Gift in the deck. I'm kind of against it, but I understand how useful it can be in certain situations. The draw is not really what you're focusing on here, as I feel like you want to have a lot of heroes in your deck for the NEOS play, but then you can activate Elemental Hero Prisma, and then first turn or second turn decide whether or not you like which NEOS monster you go into, depending on that. So that's why I say, you know, always try and go second if you can, because unfortunately your NEOS guys don't really like to stay around, and they like to always go back into the extra deck. Their effects get really, really good when your opponent's already got stuff on the field and already got, you know, really good stuff. Like your first turn plays are like, you know, your Aqua NEOS or, you know, whatever else, Dark NEOS, those are pretty much your only good first turn guys. But Glow NEOS, Grand NEOS, Brave NEOS, Flare NEOS, Air NEOS, like all of those guys, and even Rainbow NEOS as well, like to have monsters on the board for you to be able to get those effects off. So, we're going to cut that up and do another. So here's a nice hand, and pretty much like a normal style hand that you would get in this deck with NEXT and Miracle Contact. I did want to mention these are the 3 cards that I think overlap quite a lot. NEOS Fusion is the only thing that really sends stuff to the graveyard because Convert Contact can be a little bit finicky at times, and you know, the lack of being able to special summon after that restricts the use that you can have from some of these cards. But each one of these cards focuses on grabbing stuff to the deck and allowing you to shuffle it back into the deck. And so when you're always shuffling things back into the deck, there's not enough time for you to, you know, get the stuff to the graveyard, which is quite unfortunate. But you know, with each one of these, you have to decide whether or not you want to go into Connector to try and get something to the graveyard, or, you know, make some kind of different play. You can either start with Aqua Dolphin to send NEOS to the graveyard and then save your NEXT for later. You can do Connector into something else, you know, another copy of Aqua Dolphin, send your NEOS, and then send your Aqua Dolphin again, and then be able to do another Miracle Contact play on top of that. It really is, I'd say, guys, up to you, because all of this stuff is, you know, sort of the main plays that we're trying to focus on here with this deck, and there are issues that a lot of players do have with some of those cards. But guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up the video that I wanted to do on test hands. I feel like we did do a good job at explaining most of the strategies that we have in this deck. It's not a crazy large number of strategies deck. It does a few things, but it does them very, very well. You know, at the end of the day, you are trying to toolbox all your guys out, and you don't want, you know, the worst one for the job. You want the best card for the job. So each one of these cards has its own benefit. Even, you know, your Chaos NEOS and things like that can have an incredible amount of benefit against your opponent. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe on the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. And this has been the Mermail Master, and I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.